Has been welcomed by the Alannah Madeline Foundation, which was set up in 1997 by Walter Mikac, whose wife and two daughters were shot in the 1996 Port Arthur massacre. The then Prime Minister, John Howard, responded to the massacre with tough gun ownership laws and a national gun amnesty. Chief Executive Officer of the Foundation, Lesley Podesta, joins me now from Melbourne. Lesley, thanks for your time.
Hi, Catherine.
This gun amnesty, it begins on July 1, will last for 3 months. Just how effective do you think it will be?
It's an important step. The gun amnesty gives everyone an opportunity to hand back guns and ammunition that they don't want to have in their home, and it's an important opportunity for people to dispose of that without any questions asked.
The Justice Minister Michael Keenan says that this is just as much about giving a family the chance to hand in an heirloom that they might have had for many years as it is to keeping guns off the street. Where do you think the majority of guns will come from?
The Minister is right. We also think that there will be a significant group of women who were partnered previously with someone who had a firearm and the firearm is still at their home. It's very interesting. When we launched our national petition about gun laws last year, we were contacted by a number of women who were worried about the fact that they had firearms in their home and they didn't want them to be there. Now, we gave advice to people about how they could dispose of them, but I think there is a significant group of people who live with firearms who don't want them, and because it's not part of their lives, they don't know what to do with them. So I think the amnesty is important.
This amnesty is quite different to the last amnesty after the Port Arthur massacre. This one is not accompanied with a financial incentive. There's no buyback. Do you think that is going to reduce the number of firearms that are handed in?
I think so. Look, I understand the government's position. We certainly advocated that buyback would strengthen the amnesty, but it's what it is, and it's really important that people understand the opportunity that this provides. Look, we think that any opportunity to remove firearms from our community is a positive step. One fewer firearm is one fewer opportunity for either homicide or suicide or accidental death.
We appreciate very much that your position is it's a step in the right direction. However, do you see other limitations to this amnesty?
I think it's one step, and there needs to be much more done. There certainly needs to be a lot of community education attached to this, but the most important thing that we can see happen is that every state and territory follows through on the decisions that were made at COAG last year around the National Firearms Agreement, and continues to implement strong gun laws and regulations within their jurisdiction. I think it's been a really important step that CrimTrack is coming into place, and that there is a link up of the databases of police across the country. We need to know as a community every firearm, where it is, what's happening to it, and that's an important part of being able to match that information. So I think Australia is continuing to be on the right track, and every day we say, thank God we're not America.
You mentioned there the obligations of the states. Do you think the federal government should be doing more to target, say, the importation of illegal firearms?
The federal government has a very strong position on this, and we've been very supportive of their efforts to increase border surveillance around illegal importation. I think from our point of view, and having seen what the Australian Crimes Commission said in their evidence to the Senate, the area that needs to be strengthened is making sure that we reduce the number of thefts of firearms from homes and premises. Unfortunately, we've seen a significant increase in theft, particularly rifles, and having stronger penalties for people who keep firearms at home. They need to be stored safely and securely. If we can change that, we will definitely change the number of illegal firearms in the community.
How would you go about monitoring that these firearms are stored safely and securely?
It is the onus of everyone who has a gun licence to store them. If they are stolen and that's reported to the police should have powers to investigate how they're being stored. And I think in some cases there need to be penalties for firearm owners who are failing in their obligations to store them securely. So I'd like to see the opportunity to increase the ramifications for people who don't store them correctly. I'm not saying that's everyone, but if we're seeing people who are not taking the responsibility for storing them, then that needs to have a direct impact on them.
Lesley, finally, this gun amnesty is set against a very different backdrop to what it was after the Port Arthur massacre. What different challenges does that bring for the issue and debate around gun control today?
Look, you know, in one sense there isn't a debate in Australia. Overwhelmingly, our community supports our gun laws. However, we're acutely conscious that there are certain members of the firearms industry who would like to relax our gun laws. I think in the heightened awareness of terrorism, what we saw in London only a couple of weeks ago, none of us want to see more people armed in our community. So I think that there is still a very strong sense in our community that we pretty much have it right here, and that we want to continue to keep our community unarmed by and large and as safe as possible.
Lesley Podesta, many thanks for your time today.
Thank you.